Now, I personally don't feel this way, but PowerDF says the biggest problem in NBA 2K25 is the builder and not enough people are talking about it. PowerDF recently sent out this long post on X, and from the way he described it, it's more like an essay. And we're not talking about our Mexican brethren. He says, people ask me all the time what I want in NBA 2K26. And at first, I didn't even know how to answer, because on paper, we got a lot of what we asked for, and I believe this to be facts. We got the 99 rebirth system, so we don't have to grind badges. We got some creative new takeovers, and we do have a solid rep system. But something still feels off, and that's absolute facts. That's how I feel when I get on the game. Something feels off. It was my intention to grind to legend this year until I got my hands on the gameplay. And the fact is, for me, the inconsistencies in gameplay seems to be a turnoff. But PowerDF says he's finally figured out what's wrong with NBA 2K25, and he says it's the builder. Me personally, I've had plenty of people come to me telling me we need a new build system, and prior to reading PowerDF's post, I felt like the builder was just fine. But Power, he makes some good points about the build system that I feel a lot of you guys would be interested in. He says this all started in 2K24 when 2K quietly changed how the builder works. He says they took away real customization. The builder gives the appearance or illusion of freedom, but it actually locks you into preset paths by tying badges directly to attribute ratings. Power says that one shift quietly killed build diversity and creativity. Now, I believe we could all agree that the good majority of the 2K player base are casuals, the comp scene only making up a small portion of the entire 2K player base. Me personally, I primarily run in the rec center, so I get to see a wide variety of play styles and players out there. Just yesterday we were playing and we ran across a build called the Shadow. Everybody asking, hey, what's that build? What's the Shadow build? Playing in the rec center is not nearly as organized as moving up to like the Pro-Am arena. More players are able to explore different type of builds and different type of play styles, opposed to a more structured environment like the Pro-Am where you got to go with what's effective. And defense is so much better in NBA 2K25 that if you fail to go with what's effective, you might take L's for it. In the rec center, it's facts, things are just not as strict. I'm basically sharing my experience from what I've seen out there and responding to what Power said about that one shift quietly killed build diversity and creativity. And while I'm playing in the rec center, I get to see build diversity and I get to see players be creative out there. At higher, more competitive levels of gameplay, I imagine there's not nearly as much diversity or creativity. Before I continue on, I'm definitely curious to hear your thoughts on that. Do you feel there's creativity and build diversity in NBA 2K25? And if not, what can 2K do to improve it for 2K26? Sound off in the comments. Continuing Power's post, he says in older 2Ks, the magic came from creating unique combinations. You could have a two-way slashing playmaker. And by the way, the two-way slashing playmaker was my favorite build hands down of all time on any 2K ever. I actually hit legend on NBA 2K20 with a two-way slashing playmaker. But Power goes on saying you could have a two-way slashing playmaker with a 73 three-pointer and still equip gold shooting badges like catch and shoot, hot zone hunter, and range extender. He says that build could defend, finish, play make, and still shoot. And to help make his point on build limitations and how the builder ties badges to attributes, he says now those same badges require a rating in the high 80s or 90s, forcing players to sacrifice other parts of their game just to shoot. Now, just to share my personal thoughts on this topic, I feel like the builder is fine. I also feel like 2K is headed in the right direction with the builder and the limitations it places on certain builds. In my opinion, there's a huge reason as to why I feel that two-way slashing playmaker was my favorite build of all time is because it felt like a demigod. And I've been ready to push past the era of everybody's a demigod on the court. And I'd even make the argument that there's 6'4" builds out there in NBA 2K25 that could pretty much do everything. It's the gameplay mechanics that limit you from being able to accomplish what your attributes say you should be able to do. These unnecessary bump animations and impact the contact that drags you 10 feet away from where you started your dribble, your contact dunks turning into layups, the inconsistencies with shooting, 2K shifting your green windows and not giving us any tangible idea on how to learn to adjust to a green window that's shifting on you. In NBA 2K25, there's guard builds that have tremendous amount of shooting, great finishing, that still get perimeter defense and steal. And if we were able to take one of these type of builds that we're able to create on NBA 2K25 and take it back to the older versions of 2K, we'll have a bunch of demigods running all over the place. So what I'm basically saying is I feel like it's the gameplay mechanics that restrict us more so than the builder restricts us. A 99 three-point attribute doesn't hit the same way it used to in the older versions of 2K. A 99 driving dunk doesn't look nearly like what a 99 driving dunk used to look like in the older versions of 2K. 99 block, forget about it. So even if you have the highest amount of attributes allowing you the best badges, the highest level of badges, the gameplay mechanics restrict what you should be able to do on the court. I'll continue with Power's post. He says the jump shot creator system makes it even worse. You're locked out of animations unless you hit specific attribute thresholds. In older systems, if you had the right badges and knew your timing, you could green with a 73 3 ball. You were rewarded for basketball IQ, not just raw stats. And although I don't like the idea of low 3-point attribute builds being able to shoot consistently, I definitely appreciate in older versions of 2K you were rewarded for basketball IQ and not just your raw stats. You know, the crazy part, y'all, is that I've noticed low 3-point builds, and we're talking about 75 to 76 3-point builds like stretches, they are hitting consistently at the perimeter in NBA 2K25. And I guess mainly the trick behind that was making sure you have a high mid-range so you can get the badges you need to hit consistently with a low 3 ball. PowerDF says the badge system even affects big men. He says the badge system makes it nearly impossible to create a viable stretch big or popper. You're forced into being an inside center because low 3-point ratings can't unlock crucial shooting badges. And raising your 3-pointer means sacrificing wingspan and rebounding. That's just a brutal trade-off that doesn't reflect today's versatile NBA centers. Ironically, I feel very different from what PowerDF is explaining here. Like I said a second ago, I feel like the stretches are popping at a good rate, and the good majority of the centers that I run with on NBA 2K25 are poppers. In my opinion, what I've noticed more so is that the inside center has become obsolete, at least in my daily gameplay, but it just goes to show how two committed players could have two totally different experiences on NBA 2K25. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Y'all share your thoughts. Power goes on to say that balance is gone. In past games, a 90+ 3-pointer gave you range and the ability to hit contested shots. Boy, oh boy, do I miss those days. PowerDF goes on to say, but lower rated builds could still be dangerous if they took smart shots. He says, now if your guard doesn't have a 99-3 or mid, they're borderline useless. It doesn't matter how well you move or how open you get. If your rating isn't high enough, you miss. He also says ISO playstyles have been crushed. He says getting open used to be the skill, but now it's just about stacking ratings. Now maybe PowerDF, he plays more in the Pro-Am arena, and that's probably why I'm having such a different experience than him, because it's been my experience that you don't even need a 99 3 ball. You could have a guard build with a 92 and have a good amount of driving dunk on your build. In fact, I'm personally considering, since making the switch on over to Xbox, I'm thinking of creating a guard build with a 92 3 and a good amount of driving dunk. Power said the ISO playstyles have been crushed, but it's my opinion from what I've seen in gameplay, we're seeing more ISO players than we have in quite a number of years. The year started out pick and roll, and then players started to evolve, getting their 6'4s out there. Remember, we started with 5'9 builds in NBA 2K25. As gameplay evolved and players got their badges and cap breakers, you started seeing those 6'4s with finishing on their build, more able to take advantage of the ISO. One of the things that Power mentioned that I really agree with is talking about getting open used to be the strategy and skill in older versions of 2K. For some reason, these new wave 2Ks, the 2Ks released on new gen consoles in particular, they have no idea and they have zero respect for the strategy it takes to get a teammate open. It's always been my opinion that if your team is able to get someone open, then that means there was a breakdown in the defense. The player that's shooting a wide open shot should be afforded a gigantic green window, considering he has enough attributes to knock down threes. And Power continues on, sharing some additional good points. He says, and the worst part, this doesn't reflect real basketball. In real life, not every good shooter has a 99 rating. Some players knock down shots in rhythm or when they're left wide open. Their success comes from situations, not raw ability alone. He says the old badge system captured that. You can build around being a situational shooter, a role player, or an all-around threat. And he says now everyone's forced into the same mold. After reading that last paragraph, it kind of helps to put into perspective everything that PowerDF, the message that PowerDF is trying to deliver about the badge system and how it's relative to the attribute and the build system. Power says some people say the system creates balance by preventing overpowered builds, but it's done the opposite. Everyone is running the same meta builds with maxed out shooting. Creativity gone. You can't make trade-offs or specialize. You just chase the highest stats. And I feel a little differently, where I don't think it's the build system that creates balance by preventing overpowered builds, but more so the gameplay mechanics in game, what you're seeing in game, whether that's dynamic difficulty sliders, whatever it is that forces you to miss jump shots or forces your dunking animations to turn into goofy layups or missing wide open layups for that matter. No matter your attributes, completely disregarding your attributes, in my opinion, is these gameplay mechanics that force the restrictions onto your builds. Because I've seen too many high-rated players in whatever they're choosing to specialize in, whether that's shooting or finishing. No matter how high they go, if they choose 99, they're gonna fold just like anybody else for the thing that they're supposed to be specializing in with that high 99 attribute. Power says the fix is simple. Let us choose our own badges again. Give us back the freedom to create unique builds that reflect how we want to play. That one change would bring back diversity, revive ISO play, and make 2K feel like the basketball game we loved again. And although I had a difference of opinion on a lot of the points that Power DF made, I definitely agree with 2K bringing back and giving us the freedom to choose our own badges. I ain't gonna front, I missed that. It definitely added to the strategy of the game. And players weren't just stuck with the build that they created and the badges that they received for the attributes they put on their build. You were able to mix and match badges and change up the animations that you will receive on your player. We could only hope and keep our fingers crossed that the 2K dev team gets it right for 2K26. And I ask you guys, would you like to see a different build system in NBA 2K26, or do you feel 2K25's build system is sufficient? Sound off, share your thoughts in the comments. If any of you guys are new here, consider dropping a like and a sub on your way out, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Easy, y'all. If you guys are tired of running with randoms and you're looking for players to run with on NBA 2K, come on out and join the AllCity 2K Discord. The link will be in the description below. Find players and get runs now. Drop a like and drop a sub on your way out. Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Easy, y'all.